Today is my birthday and the last episode of Hot Pizza Ass of the year. So you know we're gonna go big, and we did. The guest on today's episode is Qveen Herby. She is a rapper and entrepreneur, and you also might know her from her work with Karmin. She went viral about 10 years ago, completely changed her life, and we're gonna talk about leaving a record label, going independent, paving your own path, being an entrepreneur, and overall just being a bad bitch, because that is what she does best. As you guys will see, it's one of my favorite episodes ever, and I have a lot of people to thank because this is the last episode of the year. We're gonna get into that before we get into the conversation with Qveen Herby. I need to thank the listeners, first of all. Thank you so much for making this podcast what it is, and everyone on Patreon who supports the podcast. If you like the content that I do and you want to help see us grow, please go to patreon.com/ErinDarling. It's the best way to support this podcast. And look, if everyone here just donated $5 a month, which you totally can do, we can grow. I can get into a studio and do bigger things with this podcast, like the video content that you guys will see in the show notes for this episode. I need to thank Megan Nager for editing the video content for this episode. She did a fantastic job. I need to thank Zach Darling for composing the intro and outro music that you guys have grown to love and recognize for the podcast. I need to thank David Alex West for the additional research and support for this episode. And last but not least, my dear friend Alexander, who made the introduction so that this could all be possible. I'm going to have links to his music also in the show notes. You should listen to him because he's also an amazing artist. If you like this episode of the podcast, please share it with someone. It is the highest compliment I could ever receive. And take a second to review us on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what your favorite episode or favorite moment in the interview was. I'm Erin Darling Taralva. You're listening to Hot Pizza Ass Podcast. And without further ado, here she is, Qveen Herby. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thanks for being on my show. I think that you're so incredible. And one of the things that really fascinates me about your journey is going from a record label and leaving that and going independent. And I'm so curious about, that decision, getting out of that contract. Like, how did you even do that? And then deciding, okay, what's next?
Wow. That's a great question to start off with. Jeez. Nobody told me Erin was going to hit us with the hard shit right in the beginning. Look, it actually wasn't even that difficult. Looking back, you always have 20/20 vision. But at the time I was like, what the fuck is going on? I have reached my biggest dream in life, when that was to be a pop star with a big record label, signed with L.A. Reid. This guy was responsible for TLC and Pink and some of my favorite artists. So it was really disappointing and confusing. And I was still working through a lot of my upbringing, the programs that I was raised with in Nebraska in a small church town. So it was like, it was really strange times. It was a visit to an astrologer, interestingly enough, that kind of started this roller coaster of, what if I could do this all on my own? What if I could do this independently? I am corn-fed from Nebraska. Like, what if I could use all those great work ethic skills that I got to build this thing on my own? Because I was already willing to do it. I was already writing my own songs, sometimes doing my own hair and makeup, dressing myself, and always just fighting the label for creative control. So I was like, damn, well, let's see what that looks like to go independent. And somehow, like I said, the astrologer gave us some tips. Like, Ellie Reed's a Gemini, so he was like, talk to him on this day, and it worked, babe. It was a miracle. And I'm so grateful to him. Looking back now, I'm like, he invested so much money in us. He really did believe in Karmin. So that was a blessing. But now I would never go back. I'm like, wow, it took a lot to build to this point, and it's the perfect time to be an independent artist. 2020 is the perfect time, but it is not for the faint of heart. You got to be willing to work really hard. And I'm happy to share any information that you need about that.
Yeah. Well, what's your sign, first of all?
I'm a Taurus.
Oh, nice. Okay. Big earth energy. I like earth signs. They're awesome.
Okay, I love that. What's your sign? Are you Scorpio?
No, I'm Sag. So
That. Oh, happy birthday.
thank you. Yeah. That's really cool that an astrologer like put you on the right track. They're like, this is the clarity that you need right now.
Oh my God. It was like a huge awakening because, you know, we're taught that it's just for like, it's in the newspaper. You might read your horoscope. It wasn't anything else to me until this man who was an Aries, I believe, he sat me down in Silver Lake at this really, he had like a garage full of like furs and books and, you know, crystals. And I was like, where am I right now? This is nothing like sitting in church when I was younger, you know, but it was so instant. Like I remember crying because he was telling my life to me. He read my natal chart and he was telling me everything about myself. And I was like, how do you know me so well? And then he told me some things I didn't know yet that are continuing to blow my mind as time goes on.
And then when you kind of got out of this situation, how did you envision what Queen Herbie would be?
It really took time. And I always tell people to be really patient. And I don't recommend, you know, rebranding. It's funny that we called it Karmin because the whole idea was this cool word karma was in the name. And interestingly enough, we had to pay that off before we could move on. My husband was really getting into producing music. He wasn't really as excited about being an artist. He loves performing, but he wasn't like wanting to do the social media and like the way that you have to be an artist today is so different. So he started getting into production and I started thinking, wow, if I were to make a statement as a solo artist, first of all, I'm a woman, right? And I'm like a white woman who loves like Black music. And I had no idea at the time. This year has taught me so much about that in itself. I had no idea what that meant and what it should sound like. And the label Experience, they told me I shouldn't be rapping because they don't play rap on the radio. Now here we are in like, what was it, 2017, 18, and we did have female rap starting to get played on the radio. So it was a perfect alignment of that, gave me enough confidence, but it was the first time I ever called myself queen. Like my self-worth finally reached a level where I was like, oh, I am that bitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, this is you know, you really just have to proclaim your self-royalty and your higher self will step forth. And it started out so surface. It was like, I took a visit to the Gucci store on Rodeo Drive. I never shopped at Gucci before. I was like, well, why? Why not? Maybe I should. And that was the first song that I wrote. When we got home, I wrote the song Gucci and I was like, oh my God, this is the sound. This is Queen. This is Queen. I remember the time I wanted to be called Herbie because I wasn't ready yet to call myself Queen Herbie. Herbie was the mascot for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And I found out it means warrior. So I was like, wow, Queen warrior, warrior queen. This is cool. It's very organic and it took time before it solidified into what it is now.
Right. And I remember with Karmin, like you guys are very clean and no cussing, even in the covers. And, you know, I went to Christian school too. So I have some of that upbringing too. And I remember like even now, sometimes I'm afraid of getting judged for certain things or for wearing certain things. And I know it's really hard to break free of that too. And I'm sure like that probably played a part into your development as an artist as well, right?
Yo, honey, I thought I was a free bird. I was like, I went to school in Boston. I'm like, I blew up on YouTube. I'm in this band Karmin, but I'm still not expressing myself the way that I talk to, like the way you and I are talking right now. Like the way I talk to my closest friends or my husband or people in the studio were like, wow, I didn't know you were so like sassy and like real. I thought you were just like this perfect, you know, never cursing. And a lot of our music in Karmin was beautiful, but it was very safe. I wasn't getting to the gritty, nitty gritty of what I was experiencing in my life. So it was a lot of that, like freeing my voice. And I feel it especially with my friends from the Midwest. It's, we are so responsible and so clean cut and all these things. And then you realize one day, like, well, I could be a lot more myself or a lot more expressive. And it takes, I should have probably seen a therapist, actually. But it was the spiritual books, astrology, numerology. I got into all these beautiful, like the geometry of the universe and and now I've come full circle. I went through a period where I hated religion. I was so angry.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've come full circle. I'm like, oh, this is what they meant in the Bible when they said this or that, you know? So I'm really much more at peace now. Took years.
Yeah. No, totally. I feel the same thing. It's like I also went through a big rejection period of all of that. And I was like, I don't want to. I remember I had one of my first TV hosting jobs. Well, actually, it wasn't one of the first, but it was actually probably one of my last before I became a comedian. And I remember they wanted me to review movies and they wanted me to talk about religious films as like a promotional vehicle for films that were being released that week. And I was like, I don't want to talk about religion on camera because I don't know how I feel about that.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember I had so much like weirdness about it. And now I'm like totally at a much healthier place with it. But no, it's hard.
It's a whole journey, like an internal journey. You have to decide what you believe. You have to get over the fear and the shame of going out and looking around and seeing what other information is out there before you can decide who you are and what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they baptize us so young. It's like wow, it's a mind-blowing journey, but I'm grateful for it. And I know now with what I believe now is that I chose this life.
Yeah.
I came here. I chose that upbringing for a specific purpose so I could like sit and talk with you about it right now.
Yeah. And blow people's minds when they listen to this.
I love that.
So you guys went viral. You as Karmin went viral like in 2011, was that? It's almost like the 10-year anniversary of
For real.
Look at Me Now.
Yep.
And I mean, so that, is that the moment where you're like, okay, that changed my career?
Yeah, everything changed. That was all in one day. I want to say it was like April of that year. It was a very Aries day. It was like everything just happened. It was an explosion. We had no manager, no publicist, no label, nothing helping us. My cell phone number was on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like Jermaine Dupri calling me.
What? No, Jermaine Dupri.
I'm like, wait, like you are like JD, like panicking, you know. I remember my husband and I both had jobs. We had to quit our jobs. We were like on the Ellen show 4 days later. I didn't even know the words. I had like a cue card in the original video because I didn't have time to memorize. We would do a cover song every week.
Right.
So I was like, shit, we're about to be on Ellen and I don't know the words to this fucking song.
Yeah.
It was
mind-blowing.
It was wild, but our lives changed quick. We signed the record deal. We had money for the first time in our lives. We bought a cute little house in the valley. We were like, this is it, you know? And then it was just like, the label it was just a crazy experience.
You got your dream at that point.
Yep. Everything I ever wanted.
And then you walked away.
Now what? It's like,
I know.
Jim Carrey said a quote the other day. It was so amazing. He said, my wish is that everybody could have everything they ever wanted, all the money that they ever wanted, so they could see that that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't believe it until you get there and you're like, damn, like I have money now and I'm like famous or whatever, but it wasn't exactly in alignment with what my soul wanted.
Yeah. And then when you finally got there to that point where you're like, okay, this is my new vision, this is the new path, like how did you decide visually what that was going to look like? Because I mean, one thing that's so amazing about you is that like your videos are incredible, like the whole like aesthetic and the whole look of everything you do. I'm just curious, like how did that all come to be?
Yeah, where do I even begin? It's overwhelming. Because I'm also in this place now where I'm like, okay, I am only going to do things from here on out that are in alignment with my soul. Mm-hmm. Like Oprah always says, she's like, if it's not a resounding yes, it's a no. Mm-hmm. She's like, the power of saying no and to stop pleasing other people. Like she says, the disease to please is the most dangerous thing. So I was taking careful steps in the beginning. But I've always been a girl that loved like the vintage retro vibe. And I've always been this like sort of, a lot of the critics, I remember Rolling Stone said that we were campy. And at the time I took so much offense. I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Like they think we're corny, but he didn't say corny. He said campy. And then the Met Gala that year was like camp. And I was like, wait, I'm chic though. So it's like this attitude. And then I started becoming really obsessed with like the drag queen culture. I was like, this is everything. I'd always been a theater girl,
Mm-hmm.
but musical theater was sort of, it felt kind of limiting to me because it was like, you could be an artist, but you were sort of reading a script.
Right.
And so I was like, well, how do I develop this character of like my higher self? How do I be the greatest version of me? Like the most boisterous, confident queen character.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the biggest help was Pinterest.
Oh man. Okay. What did you type in? I need to start looking at this.
I literally would just sit for like, we have Netflix on, we're watching like whatever show was at the time, like Breaking Bad or something. And I would just be hours on there, like vintage astronaut Vogue models. Like I would just find weird shoots, and I'd throw them into folders on my Pinterest. Like, okay, I know this is going to be a music video someday.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is going to be a music video. And it took time. Like I know last year I did a bunch of, like, I love to draw. So I'll draw like little symbols, like visual cues that represent my brand. So I'd be like gloves, like dead roses, bats, like anything creepy and bougie and like mob wife. I even have like a mood board with 9 words that like define who Queen Herby is. And they're always changing, but you're sort of always like getting closer and more refined every day. And I found out later that's what building a brand is.
Really?
It's just like compiling visual cues and then words that make up this beautiful fantasy world of your own making.
Mm-hmm.
And it's magical because then when people see hot pizza ass, they're like, oh, I know exactly what it is because I saw the dripping cheese and I saw the pepperonis and I saw, well, obviously turquoise and lime green is what you said. So like, that's your starting point.
Yeah.
And that stuff like gets me really excited. So I started mentoring other people, and now I'm working with like a couple people in downtown LA who have like cannabis brands, and they're like, how do we define ourselves visually? And I'm like, damn, I'm really a branding bitch now.
That's awesome.
It's so fun,
I need to work with you. I'm
like, damn, I should just
advice.
Yes, mentoring, like I love it.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Like every video, I'm always just like, oh shit. I remember I was when I found out you were going to do this podcast, I was so excited, and I had one of my friends over and I was showing them your video for Sade in the 90s, and he knew exactly who you were, and he was like, oh my gosh, watch Big Dick Energy. And then I was like, oh my God, I love this. Like every video is just so cool. Like I never get bored of watching what you do.
I love that. And those particular visuals, I have to thank Kayla Hudson and Eric Lucky, who are my creative directors on those videos, were so incredible. So in the beginning, you always want to surround yourself with people that you trust, that you admire. If you're lucky enough to get people, lucky, no pun intended, to get people that you respect and that you admire. I mean, I would call people and they would answer, and I was like, okay, the universe is guiding me to work with these people. And of course I told them kind of what I wanted, but a lot of those visuals were my team. I mean, I have an amazing team around me, Alex included. He's been on all those shoots.
That's so cool. So these weren't people that you knew before, you just like saw their work and reached out to them?
Kayla, I had like developed a friendship with, and eventually she was like, hey, I'd like to creative direct your videos. And I was like, excuse me?
Oh,
So that was perfect. She did Sade in the 90s, and it was a magical day. And then Lucky, we actually hit up, how did we connect with him? Shoot. It's just a small, because he's worked with like Nicki Minaj. I mean, everybody is so dope. So I feel really lucky. But it's all this divine path. You just sort of like follow your intuition and work with people. Some people you work with and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And some people, like, you only have them for a short time, but it's still amazing, like how they are part of building the DNA of the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's like very, very, it's perfect how things come together. Like when you put your energy toward it, you know, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
And you can't see it. You can't see it come together until later. Like, that's why I love to journal every morning, because I like to go back. Maybe like this morning, I'll look back at December 2nd of last year, and my headspace was completely different. And the only way you can see your progress really is by documenting it.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing too, and it is really helpful. But it's so weird because sometimes when I journal, I'm just like, I hate journaling. I don't know what to write, and it's just like I'm too afraid to look at my old journals.
Oh, it's the best. It will liberate you so much, because
Really?
you will inevitably see your progress, or you'll see something crazy cool that you observed at the time that you needed to read today. It's so weird. It's like the past you talking to the future you.
Okay, cool. I'll do that tonight. I'll look at some of my stuff, and
Yes.
I'll have lots of whiskey on hand just in case.
Yes,
it's
whiskey.
embarrassing. Like, oh my God, who was I?
Exactly. But it's beautiful. It's like this, you're the only one that's going to read it, you know, hopefully,
Yeah.
unless you're Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids, and she's like, sad handwritten book I found. So is that Bridesmaids? Oh my God, that movie is
I think so. Oh my God, that's such a good movie. I love
her roommate's like, I found this. I thought it was a sad handwritten book. It's like, don't read my journal. She's like, your diary. No. The key when you get stuck on the journals is what I find is, because some days I'm not having it, is to search like for a memory and go through all your senses. So this morning I was like, oh, Christmas at my house was lit. Literally, like there was decorations everywhere. Mom was like baking braided bread, and it was like raspberry flavored. And I just like wrote about all my senses around that memory. And then it was done. And that was my journal.
Oh, that's good. That's perfect.
So if you get stuck, that's my advice.
Yeah, like a good, like creative little, like a sensory memory. That's cool. I like that.
It helps
journey.
a lot because I write lyrics. So you're a comedian, and you're writing all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's easy to get blocked.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Easy.
So easy. I'm just like, what the hell? I have no ideas anymore. And then some
Zero.
days I have like all the ideas, and I'm just like, and then I get in the shower and I'm like, whoa, where were all these ideas when I needed them like 2 hours ago?
Do the shower and the bathtub are keys to writer's block. Like get you some lavender bath salt or something. Like really make it a ritual, because it's your bag, it's your pockets, it's your job.
Yeah. Like, I love that.
Spoil your inner writer. I love that.
Oh, okay. That's a good POV. I need to do that.
Treat her really good, because she's really talented.
Yes, you know? A queen, if you will.
She's in this beautiful body. Look at you. You're gorgeous. This writer is just trapped inside of you, just waiting for a lavender bath.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. That just made my day. Is it hard to work with your significant other? Like, I'm sure it's so beautiful and rewarding, but are there moments where it's like you can't escape the work?
Oh yes, we are in this beautiful, I'm yelling because he's over there probably watching something on Netflix. Oh. Beautiful loft during a pandemic. Okay. But the blessing in disguise is that we've been together for freaking 15 years or something. And this whole time we've been in a band together, touring, or like working together, like direct. Most couples go to their jobs during the day and they come home and they're like, oh honey, how was your day? Kiss, kiss. We are always together.
Yeah.
So it's a very unique situation. We're both Tauruses. We were born 2 days apart from each other.
What?
In the same year. So it's like really bizarre. I had the astrologer like give us our charts together, because I was like, what the fuck is this? Mm-hmm. We're so similar. But we really have grown together some miraculous way. But it's not perfect. There's days when I'm like, we need alone time. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about getting a second loft so I can just like go, just take the elevator and just be somewhere else for a while, but we'll see.
Yeah. I feel you. I've definitely had moments where I'm like, I feel like I need a second house from whoever I end up with.
You're like, it's nice to meet you. I'm going to leave. Here's the key.
Yeah, I'm going to live somewhere else, but like we'll spend time together. I promise.
It'll be great.
So, in paper, I was reading what you wrote this year, and I was wondering, did that come from a place of having to like explain cultural appropriation accusations and things like that people have said?
It did. I want to say that that paper essay came out, oh yeah, it must have been earlier this year, right? Like March, February,
Yeah.
March. And this was really, I want to say, one of my first real steps into understanding white supremacy and my privilege as a white person. This took a long time, babe. Like I went to a music school in Boston where I was in gospel choir. Like most of my friends were Black.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was one of the good ones. I thought I was a good white person.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was it was actually the Sade in the 90s video that started a lot of these conversations about appropriation, because I had a spray tan. My hairdresser was a Black girl that day, like made my hair snatched as fuck. Like it was perfect. But I could definitely see how people who don't know me and weren't there would see that as an appropriation or appropriative behavior. And the fact that I didn't say anything when it came out. Like I remember it getting a lot of attention because of the appropriation conversation. And I chose to stay silent, which is a big no-no. At least from the stuff I've learned this year, that's actually the most dangerous thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So the paper essay was like the first time I acknowledged, I'm a white person making Black music and trying to process how to communicate and navigate this, because we don't have that many examples of white female artists talking about this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Black Lives Matter erupted, like when was that? Like this summer, that I really dove deeper finally. This is something we don't have to do as white people. We don't have to deal with this at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took a deep dive. We stayed downtown, so we got to march in a lot of the protests. They were right outside the door. So it was like, wow, the universe really put me here right now to experience this. And it's been gentle with me, like as much as it used to hurt me. And there's like some amazing books I can share with you. You've probably already heard of them, but white fragility is a term that was invented by this author, Robin DiAngelo, where it's like the reason white people are afraid to talk about racism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really similar to like that Midwestern guilt that we feel. And I was like, damn, if I can confront this and like make some kind of a difference, like I have to do this. Like I have to do better.
Yeah. I mean, what's so interesting is that that article that came out, it was in March and it was before all of the BLM, which is interesting because like there was such like a reckoning that happened in June and July, this whole summer. And I feel like I also read that book, White Fragility, in June. And, I'm mixed. I'm Mexican American, but for the first time, I also had to say, like, I have benefited from white privilege.
Right. White passing, for sure.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, it's different. I identify as Mexican American. And I think that's kind of been difficult. Probably for some people, because I've been accused of, using it
for sure
for my benefit, which is really tough, and it does not feel good. So
right, that's that fragility that pops up, and it's like, it's really a personal journey. You have to sit with it. It's work. Like my favorite book, so White Fragility, awesome. Like, wow, incredible. Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad is an actual workbook. So you have to go through and journal every day. Ooh, honey, it is like not easy. I've heard of like book groups where it started with like 50 people. And then by the end of the month, like nobody's left, because it's so painful and difficult for white people to do this work. And it is something that, I read the book. I'm going to go back and read it again. And it's, this author, Layla, is like, it's a lifelong commitment every day to do anti-racism work. And there's a lot of different ways, and she gives real solutions and real journaling prompts that help you like dig out some of those subconscious things that you don't even know are there.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely need to order that book and check it out. And do you think like in your case, it's more of the visuals, or do you think it's because you're a white woman who can rap?
Mm. It's the fact that I was inspired by, and basically I learned my art from Black artists. So how do we learn? We imitate, we mimic. And I guess I am doing a good job of now I'm expressing myself as Qveen Herby. This is really the music that I fuck with and love so deeply.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as my following is increasing and there's people from different walks of life that don't even see Black people on a regular basis, and they're seeing this white girl doing Black music and like maybe like having spray tan or having my hair in braids, understanding why that's problematic or can be, and why we have to communicate that better. Otherwise it's going to get lost. Like culture vulture is a real thing. And it's not fair when women were sent home from work for having braids, for looking too ethnic.
Yeah.
And I'm here with braids and people are like, she's amazing. It's happened multiple times over history. So I think that's a great question. I think it is the fact that I'm making Black music, and I love Black culture. I consume and I participate in it. So it's important to also give a fuck about Black people.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, who are your favorite artists?
Shoot, the list is long.
Yeah, right.
Who
Who inspires you the most?
Well, I think the reason I wanted to be a singer was Brandy. You remember the singer Brandy? The Boys'
Yes, one of my
Her
first
biggest-
tapes ever.
Yep. Okay, tape. Yes, tape. I have the Barbie doll. I just lived for Brandy. And that was always from the beginning too. I didn't understand at the time, but I thought it was so incredible that she had these tiny micro braids. The Brandy Barbie Mattel had to invent a new machine to make micro braids for the Brandy Barbie. Like, I remember that was a huge deal. At the time I didn't understand, what that meant, what that really meant.
Yeah.
So it's been a special journey with her. Eventually got to meet her. Like, I cried so hard. It was so embarrassing. I'm glad nobody has a video of that.
She's one of the nicest people.
She really is.
Yeah.
I think what made me cry was she was like, wait, are you Karmin? And I was just like, stop. I laid up in bed listening to Never Say Never over and over and over. That album is I still have it. I mean, yeah, she's the reason I started singing. And then of course I got into anything without that parental advisory sticker.
Oh yeah.
You got to watch out for that in Nebraska. No, Jesus said no. So it was like Boys to Men, 112.
Yeah.
Oh, Lauryn Hill. Thank God they had a clean version of that album. Mm-hmm. Lauryn Hill, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill changed everything for me. And then by the time I got to college and I was exposed to all the most talented people in the world, it was like Erykah Badu. And then of course the rap was always there, but I never thought I would be acknowledged as a rapper. Never.
When did you discover that you could and you were good at it?
I always knew I could do it. And for some reason I assumed that anybody could just speak in rhythm, but it is so much more than speaking in rhythm. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Before Qveen Herby got started, I was like, all right, if we're going to make rap a part of the sound, I need to really learn the art form properly, or however that's even possible. Mm-hmm. So there's a series on Netflix, actually, The Evolution of Hip Hop, that really helped me understand where it came from. And even our boy L.A. Reid was a really big part of the Atlanta scene in the beginning, like in the early days of rap. So by the time I got my hands on Dr. Dre, Chronic 2001, it was like, I mean, I knew I loved it, but it was forbidden.
Yeah.
In my house. So yeah, I just never thought. And of course, when it happened, I was like, really, God? What an honor, but like, what the fuck? Where do I even begin? Like, and you begin with respect. just like anything else, if you really love something and you're given an opportunity, you begin with respect. And so I studied, and I tried to make my lyrics as legit as possible, because the lyricism in rap is like untouchable.
Yeah. I mean, your lyrics are incredible. Something that that I've been thinking about this week as I was like preparing to have this conversation with you is that when I was thinking about like the cultural thing, I think it's almost unfair for certain people to call what you do cultural appropriation, because it's like, it's disregarding the fact that the world kind of elevated you, as, oh, this girl is white and she's a woman and she's rapping. Like that's kind of like what started everything. And then you continue on that path, and then it's like the same thing where they want to like bring you down. And I think,
For
right?
sure.
Isn't that interesting? And I feel like this happens to a lot of women, like not just in the music industry, but even like with sexuality,
For sure.
right? We're encouraged like be really sexual at a very young age. But if you're too sexual for too long, they're like, that's disgusting.
For sure. And I think it is, you make a really great point. I think it's just so, it's just so important for me as like one of the few white females that's rapping to just learn some shit and communicate better. Like that's really the answer. And even for sexuality, for example, today I posted a picture on my Instagram where I like face tuned my ass really big.
Oh, that was face tune?
Babe.
I thought that was like a pillow. Like, stop.
It looks so real. Like, except for if you zoom in on my juice bottle, it's like, I didn't even bother fixing it because I want people to see, like, Instagram to me has gotten so ridiculous. Like it's this highlight reel of our lives, and you have to be perfect. That's why I love TikTok, because it's so honest and like, it's emotional and it just tears you in half. I love TikTok for that. But Instagram is like, okay, look, at least when I post a picture like this, I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm flexing my Photoshop skills. Like, let's at least communicate what's happening. We can still participate. I can still be a white female rapper, but I have to do a better job of communicating about white supremacy. It's a very real thing and very nuanced, and it's a deep issue.
Oh yeah. It's so deep and so complicated, but I loved the essay that you wrote, and like the fact that you kind of like took that narrative and you're like, this is what I have to say about it, Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm getting better every day. That's another thing is as white people, we can't be afraid to learn, and we're going to fuck up. That's the most important thing I learned. Yes, you are going to fuck up. You are going to be called out. And the process for dealing with that is to acknowledge that you were wrong, and to apologize and commit to doing better. That's all it is. If that's what it takes for us to create freely in a genre that we love, I'm down.
And you know what? Strangely enough, I feel like that's something, because our whole cancel culture is becoming so pervasive. I think that's something that actually holds people back from, taking the risk, from being creative, from doing something that they really want to do because they're afraid.
1,000,000%.
Right. And sometimes I even experience that where I'm just like, with trying material or doing jokes.
Being a comedian must be so hard, babe. I can't imagine.
It is hard. It's so hard. And then I'm always worried, like, there's an element of you that has to be so fearless, but at the same time, like
honest.
Right. But also, like with my background, similar to yours, I'm really not interested in like offending the largest group possible. I want to be entertaining, but also knowing there's going to be people that are offended by things that I say.
For sure. And by the way, you're doing a great job. It takes a lot of courage. Nobody is perfect, but that process alone, like even if you get the Me and White Supremacy book, Layla F. Saad, yay, and you do this work, like I found so much more, and as important as it is to do the anti-racism work, I was like, as a person, it's just going to make you a better person. And who doesn't want that?
True. Growth is key.
Yes.
And, another thing I really admire about you is that in your lyrics and the things that you talk about, I feel like you're coming from such an empowering, like female positive place. Like when I listen to what you write about, I wonder, Oh, is she writing for other people to hear this, or is she kind of like talking to herself and we're like listening in on this?
It feels like a little bit of both, but I will say the secret to writing a great song is really just digging into your own thing. Like honestly, just write for you. It'd be writing a comedy sketch or something. Write it just for you. And then when you're done, be like, oh shit, am I brave enough to like put this out? That's how you'll get the ultimate honesty.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times for me, it's a fantasy. Like Sugar Daddy, my biggest song, is like, I have never been a sugar baby. I've never been like involved in that lifestyle whatsoever, but I have thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've thoughts about feminine or feminists being able to believe that it is choice. Like women can do whatever they want. And for some people that might mean like being paid for companionship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
so I've never done that, but I told that story and I was like, okay, am I brave enough to put this out? Yeah, I'm ready to talk about this.
I like that. I love that song. And I also like today I was even thinking about like OnlyFans, like the commodification of sex work and how OnlyFans has like really kind of like brought that to the forefront
For sure.
and how interesting that is because it's now taking like a lot of the danger away from sex work.
I like
Right?
that. Yep.
Like if you like traditionally in the 80s or the 90s or something, if you're going to, put yourself at risk,
Yep.
by the nature of how risky the job is, now it's like all you need is a laptop and you can do that and you can protect yourself and make
Yep.
money.
Yes.
Which I think is kind of awesome.
I'm here for that. And
yeah.
It's not apples and oranges, but I feel the same about cannabis. I'm like, damn it, it was so illegal and now it's so legal. It's like, great, but now can we like talk about all the men that are in prison for selling like an ounce of weed and their kid is growing up without a father? Like, can we go back now? Can we make things possible and then go back and heal?
Yeah.
That's my hope for the coming years.
Rectify those situations, right those wrongs. I mean, what do you think about this whole student loans thing where people are upset about the idea of pardoning or pausing student loans because their student loans weren't forgiven?
I haven't read enough about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good synopsis you just gave, but I'm like, whoa, I don't know how I feel about this. I need to make sure you do your work and like develop your own opinion about it. That's what I loved about this election. Like people were really into it. They were like, all right, I'm going to read all the propositions and it felt like the first time we really, and man, voting is hard. You do have to do a lot of research but this is what being in society is.
Yeah, that's adulting. That's hardcore adulting. Like looking up propositions and like your local representatives and like, who are they? Yes. Like, I know I'm going to vote for president, but like, what about these other 20 pages? Like,
yeah, and these are important,
Yeah. I love and the song, The Show. Okay, first of all, I love when you released it. You were like, I'm throwing some shade at the industry. And I was like, okay, I have to listen to this. And I listened to it in my car and I was like, oh, damn, is this like a story, like a fictionalized version of someone going through the industry? Or is it kind of like what you've gone through?
It's a mixture of both. I have so many really friends that are just precious to my heart that are all in the music business. Like I have some of the most talented people that I call friends and it's such an honor. But that being said, they've shared with me some horrific tales of their experience in the music business. And I know it's also going through, like everything else, going through a huge change. But I was like, damn, I need to document this point in time because I'm one of the first. I mean, shoot, we got our little Spotify things today with how many streams you got. I got like 36 million streams independently, no playlists. And so I'm like, we're on the cusp of independent artists being able to have sustainable careers, satisfying careers in music. So I was like, it's important to write a song about this because someday soon it's going to be ancient history that people were ever treated this way. But we had the full experience with Karmin and a lot of my friends had those experiences too.
Yeah, I really identify with the part that kind of alludes to, someone having to like modify their body. And to me, I mean, I've experienced that too, like just kind of, being in entertainment.
Mm. But also being a comedian and being hot.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
a
funny.
burden, okay?
I've experienced it a lot less in comedy, but like in acting, like
Interesting.
modeling kind of stuff. Like I don't exactly fit in to, a plus size category, but I'm also not a size 2, which kind of puts me in like, I'm like a normal person. And
Right.
it's sometimes I feel like I can't be, or that I shouldn't be, or explicitly it's been told to me that I shouldn't be. Have you had experiences like that too? Like when you're on a label, was the pressure different to like look a certain way now that like versus what you're doing now independently?
Say it's always, my experience was always very organic, if that makes sense. So you're put through the ringer in terms of your schedule. So you're up at like 3 a.m. to get ready for Good Morning America.
Oh my God.
Which you have to be there at 5 and do the sound check and all that stuff. And then you're flying to Chicago for Lollapalooza, and then you're flying somewhere else for a college show. And then they want you to debut your single on Z100. So you're going back to New York, and you have to get up at 2 a.m. again for that. And after a certain amount of that, it compounds. And I noticed for me, like my skin was getting all fucked up. Like you're malnourished because you're also going out till 3 a.m. with like the radio promoter. And then you're like, I may as well just go and shower and get ready for my interview. And you have a whole day of meeting fans and then doing these lounges in like some hotel lobby for like 20 winners. And you got to autograph all their things. And it's like the expectations are insane. Like it's not sustainable. You hear about these women that have to get their vocal cord surgeries because it's just you're not sleeping, you're malnourished. And then, so what happened for me was I was like, well, my skin is a disaster zone. And they're like, oh, well, we can get some Botox while you're there. And then we'll do this. And then like, oh, you should talk to this surgeon. He's like #1 in the world. And he'd be down to like, it's very natural. It's never like, uncomfortable. It's like a slippery slope, I want to say.
Yeah, it's like we'll help you instead of like, oh, do this or you have no career.
Right. That's like a summary, but it can be also very sneaky. And I think that's how a lot of people start going down this slope of like, oh, 3rd and 4th nose job. It's like, oh, I can only imagine how slippery it is, like the pursuit of perfection and being on camera all the time and being picked apart for every little detail. It's a bummer.
Yeah. Have you read The Meaning of Mariah yet?
No, but I
oh my God.
have a notebook here because I knew you would have some things. What is this?
The Meaning of Mariah is Mariah Carey's book, and I recommend the Audible because she sings a lot.
Oh, I love her so much.
I love her too. But it sounds like that girl did not have a day off for like 10 years.
Thank you. That's exactly it. And nobody ever will understand what that is until you go through it.
Right. And then we all shamed her for her meltdown.
Right.
Which seems like it was a product of promoting a movie, recording an album for that movie.
Right.
9/11 happened. It was all the glitter era. Checks into, basically rehab. And we all make fun of her for the next decade for being crazy. Insane. And it just sounds like girlfriend needed some sleep. Like, you went through it. And we did not have compassion for her. And also we didn't know because, of course, they love to spit a story. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And this was also kind of before the internet was the internet that we know today.
Yeah.
And I do see a lot more compassion brewing. I think people are starting to be like, fuck this. Like, we don't need to be bullies and we don't need to be, when the cancel culture thing was happening, I was like, do we really want to throw these people in the dumpster? People with like millions of followers that we could simply educate. Re-educate and have them like correct and do better.
Right.
Damn, like imagine those allies.
I know. We did a whole episode on
the
that.
internet. They just left. It's like, fuck. No, this is not the way. It's not the way.
I always think about that girl who was in high school and she went to prom wearing like a kimono looking dress and she got dragged for cultural appropriation. And I'm just thinking like, first of all, she's probably a minor. Second of all, like we are like inappropriately chastising her for something that she has done because she thought she looked pretty.
Right.
And there was no malice in that. She didn't know. And who knows the trauma
Intention. That's a big thing. Intention is a big thing. So compassion first. Not everybody's strong enough yet to do that.
What's a question that nobody asks you, but you like think they should know about you or about the industry?
I'm like, my DMs are so fun. Like I randomly answer DMs all the time, and people always have the most, they're like, are you left-handed? And then they're like, oh my God, like I was so depressed this year and I wanted to die until I heard your song. Like, do you think I should pursue a music career? And I'm like, what? Where do I even start with that? Shoot, a question? I know. Yes, please. Music will save your life. We're like into these, into all these books right now about reincarnation, which is like I'm like, ooh, this word is so scary for us Christians, but like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I that's the shit that I like to talk about these days. I'm like, oh, what did your soul choose to come here to do? And
what were you before?
In a past life?
Yeah. What were
I haven't done the hypnosis yet.
Oh, you haven't?
You can go and sit with somebody who will hypnotize you for like 3 hours. It takes forever. It takes multiple sessions. And I've never been successfully hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bummed about.
I've done it once.
You did. Tell us.
Okay. So I did a past life regression, which requires like a long hypnosis, but I was really nervous about it because I was like, oh my gosh, is something going to happen when I'm in a highly suggestible state? Like I was really nervous about it. But the girl that did it was like, no, you're not going to go completely under. Like I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to be very relaxed and your subconscious mind is going to come forward. So the way that it worked is like she spoke in this really like monotone voice that kind of freaked me out because we talked like extensively before and she's a normal person. But then when she started, it was like, and close your eyes and is it okay for me to talk to your subconscious mind? And I was like, oh my God, wait, oh no. Okay. I can't laugh. But then I got used to it and I found it really relaxing.
Yes, indeed.
And then basically just kind of like she would ask, she was really tricky about it, but it was very smart. Now I think about it. She would ask me to go back to my first memory. My first memory was in this human life. But she said sometimes people go to a different life when you ask that question. So it's up to you. It's your subconscious, like calling the shots, like how far are you going to go back? And so like what I learned like through this whole experience is that like I'm a very new soul. And I like colors a lot. And I speak in colors. So I relate to plant energy. So I've been here, but not like many lives as a human.
I love that. Oh my God. You're a fresh soul, fresh. I feel it.
Yeah. I've been like a flower or something like I think that's why I like greens.
It's amazing. You have a beautiful soul. I'm not with you in person, so I can't really feel your aura. But you have a beautiful soul.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. So do you.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, that would be so fascinating. And the same thing. I'm a little afraid, but I'm also like, do I have 5 hours to sit with a stranger? And how much is it? Like I'm one of those, like, I'd rather be sitting here working, which I should stop. It's December. The year's over. Like I need to relax and go get hypnotized.
Yeah, I have that relaxing spa day that ends in like 5-hour hypnosis.
But apparently if they can pull out these memories of like, oh, like why do I have like indigestion? Like they can sometimes track even health issues back through some trauma from a past life. And once you like process it with a hypnosis person, you like stop experiencing the health issue. It's crazy. This is the reason they did it, was because people were having like, my arm hurts. And they're like, why does your arm hurt? Well, it got ripped off in a war. And once you go through the trauma of that memory and push it out, you wake up and you're like all better. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting to go through an experience like that, because like, I think what I learned through going that and by realizing I'm a relatively new soul is that I have the gift of not having a lot of trauma. So I think that's why I want to do comedy, and that's why I want to do this podcast. Like I really feel connected to bringing like levity to people, because I'm not like completely burdened down by like a lot of awful things that have happened, which is good. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with this? Like, what do I do with like this feeling and like the fact that that's what I feel like I'm here to do, you know? What do you feel like you're here to do?
Well, so that helped you know yourself better.
Yeah. It helped me understand my motivation, I guess.
Wow.
Of why I do what I do, because it's a question people always ask you that. Like, it's a question I get all the time. And I'm like, you know what? I do want to make people happy. And I know that sounds really trite and really simple.
I mean, I've been sort of toying with this. Obviously, I make music, which, according to these books that I'm reading, in the soul world or in heaven or whatever you want to call it, music is like, that's it. Like everybody can sing. It's a beautiful place. Music is so important. Music is magical. It really can transform you. And so I feel blessed that I already have basically accomplished, becoming a great musician or a songwriter or whatever it is, a singer, rapper, music person. But I do feel a lot of talent in the realm of healing. And I don't know what that means yet. I'm like, with the internet, especially this year, and having done all these my live streams, I'm always like, we're pulling tarot cards. We're like, I'm cleansing people's fields with the incense. Like it's something that I'm really into. I've always been into sort of the mystical stuff. So I'm trying to better understand, and maybe my hypnotism will lead me down a new path. Cause I'm hungry I'm horny for that. The music is on lock. I'm like, yes, I have an amazing album that we're working on. Like, music is good. We're good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's next? Are you going to like continue releasing EPs? Are you going to do a full length? Like, what is in the cards?
I asked people on my Twitter or whatever. I was like, do you guys want an album for me? And it was like, explosions. It was like, please, yes. So I'm glad that people want that from me. Cause again, Karmin was like such a singles artist. I thought, my fans are going to want a song a week. Let's just focus on dropping a lot of singles. They want a body of work. Mm-hmm. So that's really, I'm honoring that, and we're going to take our time and get it right.
That's awesome. So no more EPs for a while?
No. EP 9, in numerology, 9 is the number of completion. So I was like, that's it. Mm-hmm. Thanks for coming. Thanks everyone for coming to my EP TED Talk.
That's awesome. And then when are you going to know when Qveen Herby is done? Like, is that also like a project that has an end, or do you think it's going to be forever?
I think now that I've called myself a queen, and I'm still, just the other morning I was Googling, what is the qualities of a good queen? Like, I've never really researched that. And I was like, damn, it's a lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
Or watching The Crown right now, I'm like, damn, even the British royalty, like it's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think even if I transition in music, if I keep going with music and I transition into healing, I've flirted with doing meditations. Like, have you ever heard a meditation where they're like, listen, bitch, you're a bad bitch? Like, it's always like some relaxing person who's probably like a clean soul like yourself. Like, I was like, what about a gritty ass meditation where it's like, get you all amped up. So even if it is transitioning into that, yeah, I'm just open. I'm open to it. I'm like a sponge now. I'm allowing life to happen and just being an observer rather than trying to control everything. That's my new shit.
Yeah, that's good. That's harder than it sounds, huh?
It really is. Letting go is like the hardest thing. But once you learn it and practice it, your life just changes.
Oh, farewell. I mean,
yes.
That song, Alex told me I was going to love that. He was like, that's the most Hot Pizza Ash song that she has on this new
I love
EP.
that.
Yeah. And then when I listened to it, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this to be the one that he was like, no, this is the song. And then it was like the song that I would wake up and I would hear it like in my mind, like Brandon looking bitch, I see. And I was like, oh shit. I really like this.
Thank you. And thank you, Alex. I think this that EP was my first time putting healing into the music for real. Like I have a song called Chakras on there. I'm like, we're not even pretending anymore. Like I'm here to basically by healing myself and committing to my self-worth and calling myself a queen. You guys are watching me do it. And in turn, you're doing it as well. That's like the goal. Is to just become my best self, and you guys can join me on this journey if you want to. I can't wait to tour.
Oh my God. I know. Wait, I can't wait for you to tour. When's this going to happen? And will I be there in the front row? Like this needs.
Absolutely. VIP, honey. Yes, we're going as soon as they say we can go. There's been a lot of rumors that it's not going to be, that's not going to be till like 2022. I can't even say the year. It's so far away. And then there's some different requirements. They're like, well, everybody will need a vaccine and like a paper and a test and a rapid testing. And then they show up 2 hours early. I'm like, whatever it takes. Just tell me when I can go. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. If you need a backup dancer, I mean, I know I look like real conservative, but I can twerk.
How tall are you? Because this is important for the recruiting.
I'm 5'9".
Oh, great. Perfect. You make me look short. So that's good. I can be like the little pop star in the front. I need some tall ass dancers. I'm really tall.
Wait, what?
A lot of my dancers in the past have been like shorter than me. And I'm like, oh, I look like a giant. You know, it's like a perception. It's like they never put Tom Cruise next to like a tall leading lady. It's like, so yes, you're hired. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You will have to wear like an Edna wig, but.
Perfect. I'll get used to sweating in one.
It'll look really good. Yeah.
Good. Oh my gosh. I want to ask you one more question, but it might take a while to like break this down. Do you have time?
Go. I'm chilling.
Okay. So I want to know about like, how do you create a business? Like you also started not only like your music business, but also a cosmetics line. So how did you put this whole thing together? Like, is it like finding like a lab where they create these things and having a vision, and like how does the creative and the business and also like the creation of the products themselves all happen?
Sure. A great question. And I had one of my listeners who recently started like a luxury incense line, and she sent me all the flavors, and she sent me this handwritten note like, you inspired me to do this. I'm so blah, blah, blah. I was like, damn, I need to share more about what it's like to start a business, because it is really intense. It's probably really similar to like killing your pop band, your successful pop band, and starting something new with a totally different name and a different swagger. I've always been into makeup. I think makeup is probably because my mom didn't let me wear even mascara until I was like 16. I was like, Mom, all the girls at school are wearing makeup. And like the day that she took me to Walmart and we picked out a little Maybelline Great Lash. I probably wore that shit for like 15 years.
Ooh, the pink and green. I love that color scheme.
It's so ugly, but it's like the best formula in the drugstore.
I love it.
So I get my mascara and I'm like, oh, forever. Like, can I get lipstick? No, lipstick is for sluts. No, we're not doing that. Okay. So when I could finally have that freedom to, you know, now I'm a singer, I'm in music school, and I have to wear makeup to like on stage. Hello, show choir. I did show choir, babe. Oh my God.
Some of my best friends did show choir. I was on the dance team, but like I love the show choir girls. Like that was hard. I can't imagine singing and dancing. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, really, in the sequins dresses with the Mary Kay. It was Mary Kay. We all got a free Mary Kay consultation. Oh my God, that shit was. I was like, this lipstick is $16. It's so expensive. Of course, now mine is like 17. But then it was like, then the Karmin thing. You know, I was doing my own makeup on tour. You're in the tour bus, which is like bumping around the country like this, and you're in the back with the mirror trying to get ready. And then you go on stage and it's like 100 degrees and your eyelashes are falling off. And I'm like, I need to create products that don't budge. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of like having lipstick all over my face, all over the microphone. I need a formula that's like not going anywhere. Yeah. So the first thing we did was, well, a really good tip here is to find a partner who can take on some of the brunt of the work, because it is a lot. Setting up an LLC, registering your tax shit, setting up Shopify, learning Shopify, dealing with a chemist and then a manufacturer, release dates. And then like, so basically I had a partner in crime, Audrey Napoleon, who was like a big female DJ. She was like, I also hate the music industry, girl. Let's start a cosmetics line.
Audrey Napoleon said this?
Yes.
Dude, I feel like this sounds like a screenplay.
It really is. The future
Like it's a
movie
movie.
is going to be so good. Yeah, when I saw the girl that starred Nasty Gal.
Oh yeah, Sophia Amoruso.
Yes. Fantastic. That
Girl
Netflix,
boss.
so good. So it was a lot of that, like little inspirations along the way. And I said, well, how do we start anything good? We just like cold called all the cosmetics company labs in California. I was like, I don't care if it's San Francisco, the Bay, like let's just hit everybody who has a cosmetics lab and see if they're taking new clients. At the time, we didn't know if we were going to sell 10 lipsticks, 10,000 lipsticks. We were like, shit, let's just start. And you do need like a hefty amount of money to start. Like I want to say like between $5,000 and $20,000 just to launch. I think Jeffree Star talks about this. He's like, it was $5,000 to launch my first shades. So I was like, well, I have this money from Karmin. Like, what am I going to do? Just like go to the Gucci store? Eventually, yes. But the cosmetic, like building a business and a brand is a real investment. And shit, we learned so much to the point now where I have my own mascara, my own lipstick, my own lashes, like, and nothing is budging. We're so happy with the formulas. BoxyCharm is like about to put out the second round of products with us. Like, it's crazy the amount of support. And it's all been marketed through my music, because I'm wearing it in my music videos.
That's so smart.
So it is, yeah, long story, very short. It's like, find someone to help you, save up some coins, and I guess decide that one product that you have to have, it's going to be what you start with. The Juicy Couture girls have a really good book that reminds me of me and Audrey's relationship. The girls that started Juicy Couture. Shoot, what is that book called? Yeah, Pam and Jella, or Gila. I don't know how you say it.
I don't know either.
That they started making maternity clothes. They would buy old Levi's and then cut and insert elastic bands into the jeans so pregnant women could look cute in denim. At a time when they didn't have this, and they thought this is the product. They invested all this money and time into this, and it was fine. It sold. They made their money back, but it wasn't like the product until they got to those track suits.
Yeah. Game changer. I kept a pair in my closet just in case I ever wanted to do an ironic OO's sketch movie picture.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was all over Poshmark. After reading the book, I became obsessed. I'm like a collector, so I went and bought all these 2000s Juicy.
Oh my God.
It was
terry cloth or velour? Yeah. Which one?
I mean, both. I needed both because I didn't have that shit. In the early 2000s, my mom was not going to throw down $100 on some sweatpants for me. No, I couldn't even get Jenkos. Okay. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We only shopped at like TJ Maxx, which is the bomb, but
yes.
Just saying. So starting a business, like do some research of especially women, because women in business too, we're treated a little different still.
Yeah, for real. Did you guys get investors or completely independent as well?
I was the investor.
Nice. Okay, yeah, so you are completely like independent bad bitch, like 1,000,000% through and through.
Exactly. And what's interesting is I often look at our customers as investors because we sold out of the first 3 colors of lipsticks, we were able to have 8. And then because we sold out of those, we were able to have mascara. And then because we sold out of that, we were able to do the eyeliners. And then those got into BoxyCharm. And when you get to that level, you have to start building business credit. So you got to make a good relationship with the guy at the bank and be like, hey, we need this amount of time. We need a grace period. We need, this much money to produce this, and it'll be delivered by this date, and they're going to pay us back. It's crazy.
Wow. That's a
So
lot.
eventually it gets to that. It's big girl time, but it's something I think everyone is capable of doing, but you do have to really love it. Like the way that I love lipstick now, when I get a new shade back from the chemist, we alter the shades like to get the undertones right for every skin tone. It's like something we've cared about from the beginning. And when you get that final shade, like in your bottle with your logo on it, you're like, oh my God, it's still so exciting.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is cool. I feel very inspired overall by this conversation.
Thank you. I mean, I missed a lot of details. Shoot, at one point we were like doing fulfillment out of my living room. Like we were mixing our own colors in the kitchen and like mailing those to the chemist. Like there's a lot of details, and YouTube, I always call it YouTube University for this reason.
Yeah.
Because you go on there and be like, how do I make my own lipstick? Just learn what it takes. Let's say you want to sell pants. Learn how to sew a pair of pants, what it takes, because when it comes time to pay a seamstress to make your pants design, you'll know what you're getting for your money. It is important to understand the whole process, unless you're like Rihanna and you can just hire a whole team tomorrow, you know.
Right. I wish.
It's a little different. I wish. She's killing it, man. She's one of my muses for sure.
Yeah, like in terms of business or music?
Yes,
Yeah.
both, all of it. I mean, she's one of the first female moguls I would compare with like Jay-Z.
Yeah, definitely.
With Rockaware. Yeah.
And style icon and hair icon for sure. Yeah. Love
just
her.
Overall seems like a beautiful human being.
Yeah. Just like you.
Well, just like you. I know you are. What am I? I know you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I wonder why I always say us. It's like, it's just me, but you know, me and the listeners.
And the listeners. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting Erin and what she does. And obviously it's a treat to be on here tonight.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to share this with everyone. And obviously you guys need to follow her on TikTok and Instagram. But where else should they be following you that like isn't obvious?
I mean, I always recommend following me where you are, because I'm working hard to be on all the platforms. But if you're like an Instagram person, like Facebook person, I'm all up in there. So wherever you want, I do offer like different things like the live chats and eventually meditations. They'll all be in different places. So queenherby.com is really like the headquarters.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then we will also have show notes with all of that and with all the books that we talk about in this episode. If you guys want to check them out, have some reading, some book club time.
For sure. Oh, can I recommend one more? You probably already have this one.
Which one?
Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Oh my God, girl. I just downloaded it last night and I was listening to the first chapter about the cheetah and I almost cried. I saw myself in that cheetah.
You're going to cry the entire book. It's so good. Every morning I just try to savor it because I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
So I'll just read like one little short chapter every morning. Yeah, it's fucking great.
Okay. I'm excited to continue on this journey, and you guys check out Untamed as well.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Hot Pizza Ass. I'm going to thank every single patron, and we have Kevin, Ari, Sergio, TJ, Mark, Joshua, James, Katie, Anthony, Christina, RJ, Alex, Skittles, Zach, and Lowell. Thank you guys so much for your support throughout the year. Your contributions to the podcast have made it possible for us to grow and make investments to improve the quality and just make this a show that you guys love. Your support allows me to spend more time on this, and I would love to do this full time. So please consider supporting, even if it's just $5 a month. It really makes a huge difference. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Erin Darling Toralva. This is Hot Pizza Ass.